when did the relationship start?
Well, I first met him when first met FVR when Tony Abaya and Bella Abaya asked me to visit the house of FVR in Alabang.
You were neighbors, no?
Yes, I live also at that time in Alabang, and the purpose of the visit was to convince him to run for president.
What year was this, sir?
I think that was 2 years before the election. The election was when?
92, so 90.
Yeah, 1990. And because Tony and I were discussing in 1990 who should be the next president that we will support. And I immediately said, I remember during EDSA, I was there, and I saw the FVR jump up, and I told everybody he's going to be the next president of the Philippines.
Oh.
So I told this to Tony. I think we better see FVR. I mean, I don't know him. I haven't met him before. But Tony Abaya and Bellas, they have known him before that.
Yes.
And so we talked. And I think when we were at his house, he said, why do you think I should run? How sure are you I will win? He said, and Abaya, because he's a pollster, he said, well, we'll conduct a survey for you.
Okay.
To find out if you have a chance. And that's how it started.
So why? Well, apparently you did not need a lot of convincing.
No, because we were looking at who should be the next president of the Philippines. He ran through all the other people. I said, I think it's got to be FVR. Then we had an agreement that I said, how do we convince him to run? I mean, I didn't know him, but Tony knew him.
Justice, why him? I mean, what?
Because we
What
looked at
appealed
everything.
to you?
And first of all, he's a very decent guy. I said, we need somebody who's really decent, who will be, who is not out there to aggrandize himself, amass wealth for himself, but somebody who will look after the welfare of the country. And I think this guy has all the experience. He commands the respect of the military. He's a hero of EDSA. He was untainted during he was not accused of amassing wealth during the martial
Opposed
law.
to his colleagues.
So I said, I think we can trust a fellow. And because our generation, we graduated from college in 1970, and we missed out because in 1972, Marcos declared martial law, and there was no more election, nobody who ran for office, so we were the generation that never participated in elections. And I said, that was already 1980s, 1998, 1986, when martial law was, Marcos has fled. So from 72 to 1986, we didn't have genuine elections. So we had no experience. They said we're going to start from scratch. And I think, but we have to support somebody who was, very decent, somebody who has a good chance of winning. And there was only one guy who qualified. That was FVR.
It was a field of about 6 people.
Yeah, there were 6.
Speaker Mitra, Ambassador Cojuangco,
Salonga, Cojuangco, Imelda, Miriam, Mark,
Speaker.
FVR, and who else?
Then
Laurel.
Yeah.
Laurel was running also.
So none?
Well, of course, it cannot be Coangco, because he was with the Coco levy. It could not be Imelda. And Laurel became too controversial. Then you have Miriam. Was the Miriam run? Yeah. But we wanted somebody who was stable. So I think he was the most trustworthy among all the candidates at the time.
Looking at the historical milieu, sir, just how important was this choice for a president in 1992? I mean, it was an embattled period during Korean. I mean, 7 coups, 5 or 9, depending on who it was you're talking to. But yeah, the economy was just really...
It was very important because we were able to get out of martial law. We threw out the dictator. Then Cory came in, but a lot of people were dissatisfied. And we had to revive the hopes of the people. Because the people were starting to say, nothing changed. So it was very important that the next president could do something. Do something with the economy, with the government, with the corruption in government, with government service, public service.
This fellow was a military man. I mean...
Yes, he was a military man, but he was very well versed with the bureaucracy. An engineer, so a technocrat in that sense. And well, if you compare him to the rest, I think there were less objections against him than any other candidate. If you look at who is the most sincere, the most honest, the guy with the least baggage, that's him. That was him.
And you were willing to cast your lot with him.
Yeah, because at that time, we were already in our early 40s. And I said, we're about to, and then if the next president will stay for 6 years, we will be 48. I think we better do something already about our country, I said. And otherwise, we'll get stuck again.
The purpose of that first meeting was to convince him, but Tony Abayi said that we'll do a survey. So how did that survey turn out? And
well, of course, the survey showed that he was the front runner.
Oh, he was.
But he had a very good chance because of his image as a hero. And compared to all the rest, I think he was the most decent, the most honest compared to all the rest. So, and if we said that while he did not command a majority, since there were many running, we had a very good chance.
Oh, the fact that there were a lot of contenders.
Yeah. So you need only a plurality vote. And that's exactly what turned out. I mean, he got about 27%, but that was enough to win.
And then Miriam challenged it. So what finally got you guys to convince him and say, yeah, let's do this?
Well, it took a while because after that, we got in touch with Joel Monte, and we held meetings, weekly meetings, planning now for the campaign, and how to extend the network all over the country, to analyze political developments and so on. Basically to build up a machinery.
So ito na yun, strategizing na talaga.
Yes, yeah, that was it. Almonte was on top of it.
He was the ideologue behind him, right?
Ah.
He was the ideologue behind him.
Yeah, he was on top of. He was directing, and I handled the legal. Tony took care of the polls.
Ang ganda na ng kombinasyon, sir. But tell me, on a personal note, I mean, you were at the top of your game. One of the most successful law practices at the time, some of the most influential clients in your portfolio. Politics was a very iffy game, sir.
Yes, but at that time, as I said, you reach a point where you feel you have to do something for the country, because you're thinking of the future also of the country, the future of your children, and it looked like because of the several coups during the time of Cory, it looks like we were trapped. We could not move. So I think we were talking that this is our last chance. We've been given a chance. We were able to end martial law and the dictatorship, but it doesn't. We can't leave it at that. It's now our time for us to make a move to practice what we've been preaching. We've been complaining, we've been analyzing, but let's do something about it, I said. And we were thinking of what should be the reforms. We came out with in case FVR wins, what would be done on what reforms should be instituted. We had a lot of those. A lot in the list.
And if I remember correctly, that formed the blueprint of Philippines, what would be known as Philippines 2000.
Yes, more or less. That was the genesis. What should we do in terms of freeing the economy? Leveling the playing field, making the economy more efficient, and to minimize graft and corruption, and so on.
He cast his lot, joined the LDP, but lost in the primaries. For any other contender, that would have been it. Pack up our bags, thank you for all your support and all. But no. Give us a sense of his mind and the mind of the team. Despite this, it was a setback.
Yeah. Well, we had an inkling already that you're entering into a contest where the other side has entrenched itself. So, he lost, and I said we have to put up our own party, and he has to break away, put up his own party, and run on his own, because I think I said the voters will still vote for him. The voters are not voting for him because of the party, but because of him as a leader.
At that time,
and it was touch and go at that time, because it's something novel for you to break away and then run. And what about the other? Who will join him?
Yeah, exactly.
So there was a lot of discussion, and I said my position is we should break away and put up our own slate. And I said if it's not gonna happen that way, then I'm out.
Oh,
because
set ka ng ano?
Yeah, I said, you join, but what will you join? The other guy has already won in the party convention, so
Yeah.
you'll run for what?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There was no other way, but so I said, the only way is really to run on your own.
That was a gutsy move, sir, because I mean, it actually bolstered the perception that FBR wasn't exactly prepared. No political organization, no machinery, and yeah, again, the perception that was that there wasn't really a network on the ground. But you guys actually knew something else,
Yeah,
right?
we had a network. We have a nationwide network. We did not depend on the party organization, the LDP. So we called it oil spots all over. So we were quite certain that we had an organization already nationwide, and we knew that the candidate of LDP, Mitra, would have a hard time.
Noon ba at the time you were running, or maybe Tony Abaya was running polls, and in the aftermath of that convention loss, did the numbers still say that FBR had a strong chance
Yeah,
of winning?
yeah, he was still there. He was still in the top two. Yeah, because when you take the polls, the people don't care about the party. They look at the person. That's why Miriam registered high marks, regardless of a party.
Yeah.
So our politics is personality based.
And you banked on that.
And yeah, and as against Mitra, who was not I mean, personality wise, he couldn't match FVR. So we were pretty certain that even without the LDP, we had a very good chance.
And then NUCD option came,
Yeah,
di ba?
and then
That was a godsend.
yeah, NUCD, we needed a registered party, and NUCD was there of Manglapos, and so we entered into coalition with them.
And there wasn't really any disjoint there, no, sir? I mean, basically, the principles FBR identified as his own were along the same lines as
Yeah.
NUCD.
Actually, we formed our own party, Lakas Tao,
There you are.
I coined that term, and then we merged with Lakas NUCD because they had the registration.
Lakas tao.
Lakas, it became Lakas NUCD.
Yes. So, Filipino for people power. And it wasn't lost actually on the electorate. No?
Yeah.
The subliminal there.
Yeah.
Was it purposive? Was it?
Well, we when we formed Lakas Tao, the name Lakas, it's force, and for the people, a force for the people. And then NUCD came, so we had to put the words together, the names together, and it became Lakas NUCD.
Let me get back to perceptions. It's because you mentioned the polls. How did FVR? How was he perceived at the time? Because military man, stiff, colorless, monotonous. I mean, we were covering him in at the start of the campaign, and there was a transformation, wasn't there? Even metamorphosis. So tell us about that
Yeah, but
development.
it was easy for him to shift because of his character. He's not really the martial law type. He first of all, he was in the PC Constabulary, and he had gone over the country. I mean, he has friends in all places all over the Philippines, and that those form the oil spots.
That actually eventually became the core of
Yeah,
the
it became the
web,
core.
ano?
Yeah,
The network.
that was because of his long service in the government. He had formed a lot of personal friendship alliances with many people in government or in private sector, and they formed the oil spots.
How did you transform him?
No, he
I mean the team, and I mean not you.
well he as we went along, of course, you had to adjust, and he was able to adjust.
Yes, he was joking a lot more towards the middle part.
Yeah. He's really he became himself. I mean, he likes to joke. So I think he became more civilian. But the people were looking for somebody decent, somebody whom they could trust. And if you look at all the rest, no, you cannot trust all the rest, the others.
And that was what was hard
Yeah.
on, ano, throughout.
And I think after his term in government, that's what you can say about him. He was a very decent guy.
What were the most trying times during the campaign?
Well, the when we lost in the
major
because that
setback.
was it was either go or no go, and the merger of the Cory group with our group, that had to be finesse. Of course, it's an organizational problem. And, we were running on a shoestring budget.
Oh, yeah. Yun yung lamang ng may war chest, di ba, na
Yeah.
political party. Ano?
Yeah, so it was a campaign on a shoestring budget, really.
And volunteers. And volunteers.
A lot of volunteers, yeah.
Tsaka informal non-traditional yung network of support.
Yeah, and a lot of good breaks when that Batasan incident happened.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big break.
Yeah, about a week, no?
Yeah, a week
or
before
so,
the election.
Just before.
And,
Really?
We found out that the Mitra was printing his campaign paraphernalia in the printing press of Congress,
House,
using government facilities to print his pamphlets.
At that time ba, so major concern si Munching at that time. That turned the tide. So sino na lang at that time?
The surprise one was Miriam, because Miriam went up. It was really Mitra and Coangco was a little bit down. So it was Mitra. So when the opportunity presented itself to expose what happened in the Batasan, we just took a risk.
Yeah.
That info was given to Jun Losada for quite some time, that they were printing, but they they just bounce it around what to do about it, and then I learned about it. And I said we have to make our move, and so we planned to make a move. We planned our move. I said this is it. I said we've got, if we expose this, then Mitra is dead. I mean, because that confirms that he's just using the government for his personal campaign. And I remember the president was campaigning in Mindanao at that time, and we couldn't get in touch with him to get clearance. But I said, we cannot wait. But Joe said, yes, let's go.
Joe Almonte.
Joe Almonte.
So that was you and Joe Almonte, who made the call,
Yeah, we
made the decision.
yeah, I said we have to make our move.
How important was the Cory endorsement? I mean,
It was very important because the core group joined us. You have Alunan
yeah.
and all the rest, no? And that deprived Mitra of a jodarizer, because if Cory remained with Mitra, that would have jodarized him. I mean, but when Cory left, I mean, there was nobody to whom Mitra can say, look, I have a saint beside me.
FVR had a saint beside him. Diba? He got the endorsement, no?
Yeah, that's it. That was crucial. I think that was crucial.
He won plurality. Miriam challenged it. Did that pose a problem with the legal team?
Well, we knew that we had beaten Miriam. We knew that even if we went through the revision recount, we would win. So, but we took it seriously also. So we had a team headed by Nonong Cruz, Velino Cruz Jr. to handle that, and he handled it well. We never doubted that FVR won.
And even if the revision and the electoral tribunal pushed
and
through,
it showed when they revised it, when they recounted the votes, he was leading. So I think that's why Miriam just dropped it.
and ran for the Senate in '95. Ano? Oh. Were you expecting to stay on, or were you just, okay, you won, kau na bahala? I mean, I'll go back to my.
No, I wanted to. I didn't want the department to handle. I didn't want administrative work.
A line agency.
Yeah, so I said I want to influence policy. I want to be there where you formulate policies. I don't want to. If I'm in the DOJ, I will be overseeing the Bureau of Prisons. I mean the Bureau of Immigration. I didn't want administrative work. I said I'll just handle policy, and the best place is Malacanang.
And Chief Presidential Legal Counsel.
The job description of the Chief Presidential Legal Counsel is to advise the President on legal matters that the President will refer to you. So that's all. And that means I had no line function. No paper would go to me unless the President will refer it to me. I was outside of the loop of the line function. So it's up to you to define what you want to do. And of course, that's already defined because Joel said, level the playing field. I mean, you break up the monopolies.
Yeah, you had the blueprint already.
Yeah, so that was it, really.
But it was also a very influential spot, sir.
Yeah, there was a big fight over the PLDT.
Oh, yeah.
Because Cory was the auntie of Tony Boy Coangco.
Well, the other side of the Coangco. That kind of split the clan,
Yeah. But, FVR, I made several recommendations to FVR. PLDT, breakup of to open up the shipping, insurance,
Banks.
aviation. Bank was in the Congress at the time, and the telephone monopoly. And he never turned me down. All my recommendation, I had 100% batting average.
Wow.
I remember the insurance, because the insurance industry was dominated by Film Life.
Yeah.
And Film Life is 99.9% owned by Americans, AIG. But the law prohibited foreign companies from entering.
Yeah.
So the law that was supposed to protect Filipino companies was actually protecting an American company and allowing the American company to maintain a dominance in the industry. So I explained this to the press. I said, we have to open up the insurance industry. I said, why? Because I said, no foreign company can come in, because ostensibly to protect the Filipino companies, but this law is actually only protecting Film Life, and Film Life is 99.9% foreign owned, and it's the biggest, and this small company, Filipino, cannot compete. So I said, if we continue with the law, we continue with this protection, we are actually protecting a foreign company.
Yeah.
So, and
He saw it along the same lines?
and then Greenberg, the owner, the president of AIG, the parent company in New York, heard about it and came here and told the president, I will put up a infrastructure fund for the Philippines. We'll put up a fund, and then you can use it to we can invest in your airports, seaports, but don't touch the insurance.
He
So
was
I
just
said,
really
wow.
deflecting.
Yeah, so I said, wow, this guy could derail us. And but he made the right decision. He said, open up.
Yeah. Yeah, he rejected the Greenberg.
So, so we opened up. That's why Pro Life, everybody came in.
Yeah.
And the capitalization of the insurance industry just went up, soared. The other thing was the PLDT.
Telecoms, telecommunications.
I explained to him, as I said, when I was practicing law, I had foreign clients, and they had to communicate to Europe, to US, but they cannot talk because there were no telephone lines. They had to send fax, and they have to get drawings. I said, so we'll never get the investors that we want. The problem is the telephone monopoly. He said, how do you solve that? I said, simple. We just compel PLDT to allow newcomers, new telephone companies to access their interchange. In other words, allow the subscribers of PLDT to talk to the subscribers of the new companies. Because if we allow them to come in, but they cannot avail of interchange, nobody will subscribe to the new companies because they cannot talk to anyone.
Right.
Because PLDT had a large installed base. And he said, how do we do that? I said, just an executive order that doesn't require a law. So I prepared the executive order, and of course, the PLDT had a lot of spies, and
that was a very strong lobby, sir.
yeah, there was a strong lobby, and they started to attack me, attack Joel, everybody. So one day the president said, where is that paper that you prepared? I said, I can get it, sir. Bring it to me, and I'll sign it now because you are under attack. I mean, they've been bad-mouthing me that we were out to grab the PLDT.
Yeah.
So he signed it. and that very simple, that anybody can come in and be interconnected with PLDT. That was just an executive order, didn't need a law.
Yun lang. Allowing for interoperability
Yeah,
of systems.
interconnection.
Interconnections. So that, yeah. But eventually, let me get to that actually. Especially during the early years, I guess the first half, the first 3 years. It was an alphabet soup of letters, actually. EOs, AOs, MCs, and I suppose those came from your office too. Well, executive orders, member circulars, officers, and administrative orders, and it was really like bridging the legislative gap in the absence of the legislation. Congress was not moving as fast as he would he wanted Congress to move, and he resorted to a lot of these presidential orders and executive orders. That one, that was a pretty thin line to work from, sir, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, during the first 3 weeks in Malacanang,
3 years.
first 3 weeks.
Oh, 3 weeks. Okay.
No, when we were in the first, when we
You
entered
were just coming
Malacanang,
in. Yeah. Okay.
I prepared a memo for the president. I said in that memo, I said, if we start a new project, it will take us, just feasibility study alone, it will take you 2 to 3 years to get funding from JICA, from another 2 to 3 years, and your term is over. And there will be court challenges. So look at what happened to Cory. He wanted to put up EDSA LRT. It got stuck. So I said, what we should do is, there were about 11 or 12 projects of Cory that got stuck. Alabang Stock Farm, LRT, Digitel, and several others, where there was a bidding, for example, in LRT, but the Ayala's questioned it because it will pass through in front of Schumart, between Forbes Park and the Ayala Center. So they didn't want to lose that junction. So I said, all of these projects bidded out during Cory, but it couldn't take off because a lot of legal issues, complaints. So I said, if we rebid this, the same thing will happen.
Yeah.
By the time we finish, your term is over. So nothing will happen. Nothing will happen to your term. Look at what happened to Cory. What did Cory start?
Yeah.
Infrastructure. Nothing. So what we should do is, whoever won during the bidding, let's give it to them.
Okay.
And those who lost, we'll tell them, you fight us in court. Because I said, we cannot go back to rebid it, because that the losers will still question us. It will still go to court. But it will be faster if we uphold the winner in all of this bidding. It's easier to defend them. And let's send the message that don't mess with us, because there's already a winning bidder. So Alabang Stock Farm said, there's a winner, give it to them.
Yeah.
And then let them build up that city. And that's why the Philinvest City was built.
Right.
I remember the Zobels came to see me and said, they questioned why the Gochanums won. I said, there was a bidding. You cannot offer now a higher amount. The bidding is finished. I mean, I cannot say bid again because you have a higher amount. Tapos na yun eh. And LRT, it was being questioned again by the Ayalas. I said, if we'll allow this to be litigated in court, I said, your term will be over. Let's just award it to the winning bidder.
Yeah. Yeah.
Say, and then let them question us. That's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
So many of this, Digital, I said, that was already won by, I think the winner, this Go Kong Wei. It was being questioned by PLDT, by Tony Boy. I said, they won a huge amount.
Yeah.
Why do we stop it? So that's why when the crisis came in 1997, when government projects slowed down, LRT kept on going. I mean, because it was privately,
Yeah.
and that's why it was completed, because it was privately funded. So I wrote in my memo, I said, pikit mata tayo dito. I mean, I didn't say the uses. I said, we were not part of the whatever anomalies there were. So we have nothing to be afraid. There is a winner. Let's honor that. And that's exactly what happened. That's why we respected all those who won. And that's why we finished everything.
Yeah. That also sent a message to the business community, actually. Government will stand by whatever it had already committed to. And at the same time, a certain level of confidence that, hey, let's put in more. It's an economy where we can start playing in.
Because it takes time. For a project, because you need foreign funding for all of this.
Yeah.
Like the JICA or the OECF at the time would send a team here to survey, to assess feasibility study. They go back 2 to 3 years just for that. And then it's included in the next round of OECF lending. By the time, wala na, tapos na. Your term is over.
And quite an innovative approach as well, because nabanggit mo nga, yung funding gap. And then he started introducing again another potpourri of alphabets.
I remember that yung
transfer,
LRT,
build, operate.
there was an opposition from Ayala, even from
Ito ba yung sa EDSA, sir? Ito yung sa
EDSA.
Oh.
Because there was an Ayala opposed it, brought it all the way to the Supreme Court. Tata was the one who filed. And then the Japanese wanted a loan. Because that one is BOT. So we never put up any money. We just made a guarantee. But some people, I don't know why, they said we should borrow money. I said, no. If we do that again, that means there will be a feasibility study again, and then we'll be gone by the time that's going to be bidded out. So that's why we implemented what Cory started, what got stuck during the Cory administration. We just took advantage of the fact that there was already a bidding, so we cut short the process.
And then addressed yung maliwanag na address yung pinakamalaking problema, which was money.
And can you imagine if we did not push through with EDSA LRT? Imagine EDSA without an LRT. Today, hindi gagalaw. Even at the time.
Yes, sir.
At that time, hindi na gumagalaw. So, of course, now you need more than an LRT.
Sir, tell us about another controversial issue, but it did solve the immediate problem, and I'm talking about IPPs. So, he inherited 8, 10, 12-hour brownouts from the Cory administration. He asked Congress for emergency powers. What, I don't know, maybe just 12 months or 18 months to... I just need this so that I can,
there's a story to that.
That's what I'm trying to get from you, sir. Um, I guess you needed both an engineer and someone who could see through the legal
Yeah.
maze, you know. So
The when we came in, there were 12 hours of brownout every day, rotating brownouts, and everybody was mad at the government. And there were so many proposals what to do about it. They said, give the president emergency powers. So I said, what kind of emergency powers? I mean, right now, if there's a national emergency like the brownouts, it's a national emergency, we can negotiate. We can buy equipment through negotiation. We don't have to bid it because that's allowed if there's an emergency.
right.
So for me, it didn't make sense to ask Congress for Emergency Powers Act. Because I said, we can do it. But I said, there's something there. Because I said, if we follow the usual law, that if there's an emergency, you don't bid out, you just negotiate, and after you're done, you will be sued because they will question why you negotiated.
Every step, yeah, of what you did.
So if we negotiate all these baseload plants, thermal plants, after our term we will all be sued. Why we negotiate? Why we did not bid it out? So I said, what we will do is we will change the law that instead of the president exercising at his discretion emergency powers, Congress will mandate him to negotiate all these contracts, so that we had no choice. We had no discretion. We were following the law. We negotiate. Said so. That's one. Second, the real problem why no one will invest in energy in the Philippines is because of the transmission. Now, you put up a power plant in Suwal. How do you transmit that power to Metro Manila?
Yeah.
You must have a transmission line.
Right.
Okay. Now, the transmission line is Napocor at that time. And Napocor had to borrow money from World Bank to put up the transmission line nation, the national grid. But the World Bank would not grant Napocor because in Napocor's charter, there's a provision that they cannot charge a rate beyond a certain point.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So that rate cannot justify the loan. So that provision in the charter of Napocor had to be amended. But Cory tried to amend it, and there were demonstrations because once you amend that, that means the rates will go up.
Yeah. You had to recover
Oh,
costs.
but if you don't amend that, World Bank will not lend, and if World Bank will not lend for the transmission, private banks will not lend to the plant in Suwal.
Yeah.
Because why will the private bank lend to Suwal when there is no transmission line that will carry the power to Metro Manila?
Right.
So, key was the World Bank loan. And the World Bank will not release it until you amend that provision that the rate of return will be higher. Rate of return of Napocor.
Yeah.
And the Cory tried to increase it. There were demonstrations.
Yeah.
So I said that's the key. Aside from mandating FVR to negotiate all of these power plants, we have to amend it. Otherwise, it will mean nothing. It won't fly because no private banks will not lend to power plants. Right. Now, but if we put there, we highlight that, there will be demonstrations.
Again.
So, what I did was I drafted the Emergency Powers Act, and I put there about 25 powers. We wanted 25 powers. All kinds of crazy powers I added. We will be free to license foreign engineers, import, lahat na, mga kalokohan. But nakalagay doon also to amend the charter of NPC, yung ganyan. So,
You slipped it through, sir.
and so Maceda, I was there in the Senate, and Maceda said, how come you inserted so many powers here? I will give you only 3 powers. Choose which one you want. So I said, if we only choose 3, we cannot solve the power crisis. But there were so many minor powers that he said, oh, she was so mad. But he kept on pressing me, but I refused to identify what were the most important powers. I said they're all important. Because if I say it's the Napocor, then we're dead.
You would have shown your hand.
Yeah, so and then so they stopped the hearing, and Shahani called up the president and complained up to the president that, Tony CARPIO came here and refused to answer. So the president called me. He said, Sir Shahani complained. Then I showed him, sir, I cannot mention this. Because if I mention this, you will have demonstrations tomorrow. So that's why I included so many powers to confuse them. Right now, they don't know exactly what we want, because if we show our hand, they'll attack it.
Right.
And besides, if they don't pass this law, the people will blame them.
Right.
So I said, okay, go back there. So I refused to, but they had no choice because they were about to adjourn.
Yeah.
So they passed it.
Yeah.
And then, with that provision that we wanted, 2 weeks later, Del Lazaro published a innocuous, the President signed a proclamation changing the return on investment. And it was published by Del Lazaro, but nobody saw it. Nobody complained.
Lusot.
Nalusot. But that was my biggest fear. Because the moment they see that, that means there will be a power rate increase. And the moment there's a power rate of increase, you will have...
And it becomes political.
Political.
Yeah.
If we negotiate, you will later on question us why we... But we want you in this law to mandate us, compel us to go to negotiations, so that you cannot question us later because you yourself directed us. That's the difference.
Oo.
Galit na galit siya.
Oo nga. And it placed the burden of public, public, or keeping the public happy.
That's how the power crisis was, So
that was one power play, sir.
But the senators never saw our intention there. And even after Del published it, nobody noticed it.
Oo nga, hindi napansin. Later na. Didn't that scare you? I mean, 100% batting average. I mean, everything you brought to him, everything you advised, everything you recommended. And incidentally, you weren't just chief, you were also part of the Wednesday group. I mean, that was yet another, diba, very influential advisory group. Weren't you, wasn't that daunting? I mean, knowing that
Hindi naman.
he had 99.9% confidence in everything you said and everything you recommended.
He parang trust but verify siya. I remember the lotto. One of the first assignments he gave me was, tinawag niya ako, sabi niya, Tony, let's stop the wetting. Find a way to stop the wetting. We'll do it immediately. So, I called up Velasco, NBI director. Sabi ko, give me the list of all wetting lords. Bakit, sir? We'll arrest all of them. Sir, ilang beses na namin inaresto yan, walang nangyayari. Lahat yan may kaso. But the penalty is so small, it's just a fine. Kayang-kaya nila bayaran yan. Sabi, nako, problema ito. So, what I did was I studied how did other countries stop the illegal numbers game. And one solution in all countries, Lotto. In Lotto, it's transparent, state-owned, state-organized. So I explained to the president, sabi ko, I found the solution. What's yours? Lottery. Ano, bakit lottery? Sabi ko, sir, in all other countries, this is how they did it. We cannot, if we arrest all the wetting lords, babayad lang ng fine yan. Babalik yan. But we have to fight them in the market. We will put up a lotto that will compete with them.
Yeah.
Now, in lotto, there's no hanky-panky because you can see the ball. But in wetting, they don't show you how they draw because that's rigged. And they have to rig it to survive. Because in Lotto, if you choose the right number, it's times 600. For every peso, you get 600. No?
Okay.
What if everybody bet on that right number?
Disgrasya.
Bankrupt. But in Lotto, it's not like that. In Lotto, the collections for the ticket is divided. Half will go to the price. So even if 1,000 people bet on the right number, they just divide it.
Yeah.
So the PCSO will never go bankrupt. That's why they don't have to rig it. You can show the draw, but in wetting, they could go bankrupt. So they make sure that the number that's least betted wins. Always yan. So sabi ko, that's how we will fight. Televise natin yung draw.
Yeah.
So, yun. So, okay, we implemented it. Eto na ngayon who's this girl? Maita Pardo de Tavera.
Mita, part of the yeah.
Sabi niya, sabi ko, it has to be bidded out. International bidding, so we publish it sa newspapers.
Yeah.
And then, naglagay siya ng ceiling. Sabi niya, you cannot bid above 5%. In other words, the 5% is how much you will give to the
Winner.
to the 5% is the he put a minimum pala. Put a minimum. The 5% of the gross collections will be to pay the foreigner who will put up the system.
The operator.
So sabi ko, bakit ilalagay, why do you put a floor? They might want to say 2%. Mas maliit ang babayaran natin. So, ang PCSO under Maita de Vera said, bidders cannot bid for less than 5%. Sabi ko, mali yata yan. If they want to pay less, if they want to collect less from the government, bakit natin hintuin sila?
Exactly.
So, I insisted that tanggalin yon. Nag-complain siya kay FVR na nakikialam daw ako.
Okay.
So, and then, dumating na si Balong. Sabi niya, sir, galit na galit si FVR. Bakit? Nag-complain si Maita. So, umakyat ako kay Presidente. Sabi niya, akala niya, nakikialam ako. Sir, nakialam ako. Bakit? Because, sir, ito, gusto nila, the government should pay at least 5% of the gross to them. Mayroon naman, why do we put a floor? We should allow them to say, oh, we will accept 1% payment. mas maganda sa atin yan. Why do we put a cap?
Yeah, yeah.
Sabi ko, that's anti-graft yan. Because we are saying that the government will pay no less than 5%.
Yeah.
Kalokohan yan. Supposing there's a bidder wants to pay to accept 2% payment lang. Bakit natin...
Exactly.
Ganyan ba yan? Sabi niya, after the bidding, we will replace my Pardo de Tabera. Kaya, si Manoling Morato naging...
and became correct, not chairman of...
chairman because of that.
PCSO. Oh. Yun pala yun.
So, he trusts but he verifies.
Okay.
So, hindi naman you have to explain to him bakit.
But the other thing, sir, is that you were confident that he had your back. No? I mean, tell me about that relationship. I mean, and the kind of confidence it inspires, not just with you, but nearly all cabinet officers. I mean, they were tough and they pushed through with everything that they had planned and set out to do because they knew that.
Yeah, he's the type of person, he will support you. And that's a good leader. If he believes in you and you have a project, he will support you. That's a good leader. Because that's the way to move the government.
Especially a monolith like the bureaucracy. Diba? I mean, he was able to move the bureaucracy. What
Yeah.
normally snail's pace, got everyone working, everyone up at 4:30 in the morning. How did that work schedule incidentally impact on you?
Mahirap.
Did you get those
5
early
o'clock
morning?
tumatawag na.
Seriously, talaga?
Once he called up ang aga. Kasi he plays golf early binabasa niyo yung dyaryo. May lumabas, tawag siya. Have you read this? Sabi ko, sir, I just woke up. Okay, I'll take care of that, sir. Ganyan siya. Sabi niya, you have to be on top of the news. You have to dictate the agenda. Don't let the press dictate the agenda. Kasi if you unahan mo na, ito yung gagawin namin.
Yeah.
Hindi yun, the press will say, bakit hindi nyo gagawin ito? You always dictate the agenda of the nation.
Step ahead, ano? Step
Kasi
ahead.
otherwise, people will dictate on you. Unahan mo na. This is what we will do.
Get ahead of the cycle.
You dictate the agenda. You're the president, you dictate the agenda. Don't let the opposition dictate the agenda.
I kind of missed it. I'm sorry. Let me just go back a few years then. Selection of weren't you part of the selection committee as well? For cabinet officials, appointments?
The cabinet siya lang.
Siya.
Below cabinet, below undersecretary, kami na.
What was your name? Because I was going to, when we were covering the palace at the time, I mean, the composition wasn't exactly, they were all very well respected in their fields of expertise. Pero walang celebrity. If you get my what I mean, no one, walang naka-spotlight.
Team player kasi siya, ayaw niya yung soloista
And yet, diba, everybody was the expert in their fields. And yet, hindi political, hindi that one. Okay, but you weren't part of...
No, kasi yung cabinet and undersecretary, I don't know how, galing sa kanya yan Yung lower than that, bureau directors, kami na yon. The selection committee na yon.
Okay. Okay. Let me also ask you to comment on LEDAC.
LEDAC.
The Legislative Executive Development and Advisory Council, no? it was his creation, ano? It was his creation. It was really, I mean, at first meant to be parang ministerial, and yet he used it as a governance tool.
Yeah, it was very successful because he really he brought everybody there to discuss what new laws we needed. Unlike before, if a file, tas wala na, you let Congress just go through their own thing. Walang mangyari niyan. So, yung LEDAC, every week or every other week, titingnan, saan na ito? Anong kulang? Talagang tinutukan. It was a good innovation, ha?
And it brought
worked.
in all affected stakeholders.
And then lalabas kung ano yung problema sa law. So they can propose solutions. It was very effective.
At kung meron mang controversial issues, di ba? Bring in whoever, di ba, is raising those issues and di ba, fleshed out in the...
That was very effective.
Kaya nagiging tuloy. Kaya nagiging ministerial na lang talaga pagdating sa floors ng House at ng Senate. That helped out. Did that help you out as well with a number of your recommendations?
Well, most of kasi I concentrated on what the president can do without legislation. Yun ang akin. Sabi ko, because that legislation, you have to talk to Congress. So I look for areas where the president can just act on his own.
Yeah, okay. Wednesday group. Gaanong kabigat talaga yung...
Well, it was a...
Loosely composed. Pero
loose lang.
Ang nagmumestre si pa rin di ba? Si Joel.
Si Joel, yeah, he's the top guy there.
Yeah.
He was the top guy there.
But he valued it because I remember, sino ba yung mga Wednesday group na yan? And yet, it was very regular. No?
It was regular, place to discuss, to so socialize at the same time to compare notes. So it served many functions. But of course, people criticize it. So
there were observations that he actually valued this group's advice over the cabinets.
Hindi naman. He always weighs naman. Tsaka si FVR, because he studies. Because he was a staff man Complete staff work siya So, and that was his role when he was the executive assistant of the chief of staff before. So sanay siya dyan. So when you present something, tinitingnan niya yan. He looks at the merits. Not because you belong to this group or that group. Titingnan niya, babasahin niya. Ganyan, ang mga memo ko, he agonizes over it. Tinitingnan niya, then tatawag siya sa akin, okay, let's implement. But he agonizes over it. That means he really studies it.
And he had, several groups. I mean, so he had this, he had a...
Yeah, he had several groups advising.
And then the cabinet clusters. You were, you were among the individual, advisors. And then yung ito nga, Wednesday.
Yeah, just one of the groups. But it was not more value than any other. Well, hindi naman.
And he would, what he would do was he would pull it all together. No? Take a look at all the...
Yeah, he gets a lot. Kasi intelligence man siya. You get information from all.
Okay.
And then you try to make sense out of it. Tsaka he always checks. I give him a memo, he will check. He will always check.
Can't get away with him.
He will always check.
Okay, okay. You stayed on up to 90,
Early 96.
early 96. Yeah, yun nga yung hinahabol ka namin bago ka umalis. Tell us why.
Well, at that time, I already explained this publicly. Yung People's Initiative
Okay.
to I was the head of the legal. I was on top, the highest. That's a legal move but sabi ko, I cannot go along. And then nakita ko na sila nagmi-meet na. Sabi ko, I'll be the odd man out here.
Yeah.
So I better leave.
And there were quite a number of people in his close circles, no?
Who didn't agree.
Well, who didn't agree and were actually pushing for it. Tama ba?
So sabi ko, kaibigan ko lahat ito. Si Joel was in the forefront. Sabi ko, I didn't want to quarrel with them. I mean, sabi ko, sige, but let me not stand in the way. Alis na lang ako.
Although the official letter says the reforms had been done and you were allowing others to...
Well, it was also true. It was halos nagawa ko na yung what can be done by the president himself in using his presidential powers. The other reforms needed legislation, and he didn't want to do that because he really need to talk to Congress.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to create friction with my mga kaibigan ko naman lahat yan.
Yes.
And it was unfair if I stayed as top legal and then iba yung gusto nila. So sabi ko,
It was a good time to leave.
yeah, I think okay na 3.5 years.
Quit while you're ahead. Or...
Hindi naman. But, you get burned out fast there. Talagang
Oh, yeah.
every day.
Oo.
Grabe.
But yeah, give us a short look into what cabinet life was. Ikaw ba, did you also have your own share of near misses, close calls, accidents?
Wala naman.
Hindi naman nag-stall yung helicopter.
Wala ako. Because I did not go out eh.
Okay. So it was just really,
Yeah, I just stayed in Malacanang.
space. Oh.
I did not join the presidential sorties.
Or not the, what about the state visits?
Hindi rin ako sumasama.
Oh, okay.
I had to stay.
Was FVR aware of PIRMA, People's Initiative?
But ako, pag ginagawa ng grupo, of course he would know that. I did not agree with it, so alis na lang ako. I mean, because they're all my friends eh.
Yeah.
A very good friend up to now, si Joe.
Yeah.
Joe Lamonte. So, sabi ko, you do what you want. I mean, but...
No rancor. Okay. You went back to...
practice.
Private,
After 1 year, yeah, I took a 1 year leave.
Yes. You went to private practice and then... Well, looking back, was he able to accomplish everything that he had set out? I mean, you helped craft Philippines 2000, the blueprint of it.
Most of it, I think. The problem was 1997, we had a crisis,
Yeah.
financial crisis.
Slipped
And that,
there, no?
Yeah. That was not expected. And that derailed many things.
Yeah. And then Joseph Estrada became... hindi. Ibang pangulo na yun sa'yo. Where could he have done better sana? Or focused a bit more? Or talagang 6 years and then...
Well, normally you think of your successor.
Mm.
But because the people around him wanted him to run again,
Yeah.
the successor was not groomed. There was no
Fully,
successor
yeah.
groomed.
Mhm.
I think that was needed for continuity. So, of course, di ba na siya run, hindi naman nanalo.
It was too short a time to
Well, maybe they could have
Prepare,
thought kung sino talaga dapat
much earlier.
much earlier. Because di ba na siya really had no chance.
Oh, very popular vice president. How have you kept connected through the years with the FVR?
I come here now and then, and with Joel. Joel and I, before he got really sick, we would have lunch, dinner pala, once a month,
Oh, and
discuss the state of the Philippines and the world.
actually, I was going to ask you that. What are the ano yung parang replay ng Wednesday group yata?
Now we discuss about after the term of FVR how madami pa tuloy pa yun how when Estrada was ousted, how GMA took
Yeah,
over.
yeah.
That was he was very active then.
Yes, yes.
So tuloy-tuloy yun. But of course he's hindi na siya pwede ngayon because he's sick. But we continue to discuss about the South China Sea.
Yeah. And you're pretty vocal.
Yeah, in fact, we thoroughly discussed that. That's why I'm taking this advocacy.
Well, incidentally, he took a lot of political savvy, in engaging China on that issue when he
You
was
did.
president.
You read the book of Marites, the story behind the story.
Yeah. Very interesting read, actually. Okay. Was it all worth it? I mean, you left.
Yeah, I mean the experience, the satisfaction, and I think I did my part. I contributed a lot. In the dismantling of the monopolies, opening up industries. I think that was enough for me. I mean,
Is there a singular achievement from his administration that stands out, which you think people should remember as his legacy?
well, the opening up, leveling the playing field in telecommunication, in other fields. I think the telecom was very crucial because that was a few years later we had the internet age, and that was just on time. Because if the internet age came and we still did not have we still had one PLDT there, we would not have the call centers now. We would not have when we demonopolized, dismantled they were giving away cell phones.
Yeah.
I mean, you just subscribe, we give you the cell phone.
Yeah, that's it.
And before it took you 25 years to wait for your line. But when we opened it up, within 2 weeks, you can get it. You could get it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a big leap. I think that one showed that you can really do something extraordinary. That I think everybody thought that, wow, if you could do this, you could do anything. That's why I said we have to do this, because if we fail here, we will fail in all other reforms. Because if the oligarchy can stop us here,
Yeah.
they will stop us in all the
Everywhere,
others.
yeah.
So we have to make this succeed, and that's why it was very important.
Visionary then. I think he was what? 15, 20 years ahead of his time,
Yeah,
easily. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Maraming salamat po.